All right, so the first, we have the definition of sustainability. So it's the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability to meet your future needs. And so we have a short quote here. It's a process of change in which the exploitation of resources, the direction of investments, the orientation of technological development, and institutional change are all in harmony and enhance both current and future potential to meet human needs and aspirations. And that's the source. So what that second quote is?
Your group has somebody taping this, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So each group should be taped so you can watch it. Thanks.
Sorry about that. And so that second quote is just another definition. It's kind of builds on what the previous definition was. And so the idea of sustainability kind of stems from the concept of sustainable development, which became common language at the world's first Earth Summit in Rio. You can go to the next slide. The history of sustainability. Earth Summit in Rio, 1992. Sustainability is based on a simple and long recognized factual premise. Everything that humans require for their survival and well-being, directly or indirectly, depends on the environment, so kind of like planet Earth. Developed from the fact that there are unintended consequences from the growth of our society. And I have a quote from a source. It's a longer quote. So the history of sustainability has three overlapping storylines, as more fully explained below. The first occurred in the United States as a conservation movement, which developed from the recognition that our taming of the wilderness was destroying much of what we valued as part of the U.S. culture. A recognition that led to conservation laws which began to emerge in the late 19th century. The second was based on the realization that some of the chemical and physical agents increasingly released into the environment because of industrial development were harmful to people and the environment. A realization that led to such events such as the original Earth Day and the formation of EPA in 1970, the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970, and the ensuing media and pollutant-based environmental laws. The third storyline is based upon the perception that population growth and consumption are challenging the ability of Earth's ecosystem to provide for future generations, and that the response to this challenge requires more than place-based conservation or the control of environmental pollutants. The institutionalization of this began with a series of international conferences and agreements that were, to a very large degree, based on and inspired by actions that were already underway in the United States. So, it's a very big quote. I'll break it down real quick. So, the history of sustainability stems from our realization that we were breaking down our environment and that we weren't able to, we were not able to survive much longer or be able to provide for ourselves in the future if we continued at the rate which we were going. And so because of that, our culture made us realize that we needed to find a sustainable way to produce and reproduce our resources. And so now sustainability is a large part of the U.S. culture and cultural movement.
So I'm doing the implementation steps. So the first step is to engage your people. In order to implement a practice successfully, you have to engage people. So you have to get support from management and other departments, and you have to gain support from also the employees. So in order to do it correctly, you have to have support from everyone in order to engage people at all business levels. Step two, you have to conduct an assessment. So you have to look, no matter how much work you put into a practice, there's always room for improvement. And you can look at other frameworks that have been successful, and then you can do, and once you have that, you use it as like a framework to improve your implementation. And the third step is to implement best practices. So once you've done that, you can look for baseline data and other correct bases. And then once you do that, you can use that to implement like sustainability and other practices. So in this photo is Model S, which is a unique feature. It can clear 99.7% of the carbon air in the car, so it improves the way you breathe too.
I would like to talk a little bit more about how Tesla implements sustainability. So what are Tesla's benefits of sustainability? Sustainability not only benefits Tesla, but it also benefits the consumers as well. It increases productivity on both sides of the spectrum, and the vehicles themselves actually have less moving parts than a traditional vehicle. So in the long term, it reduces costs. You're not always having to spend money on gas, thousands of dollars annually. You're actually going to spend about roughly $600 annually more in electric, and it's only recommended that you get one annual checkup. And they also have these things called Tesla Rangers, which is basically just employees at Tesla. If you have a problem with your vehicle, you can go to your screen on the dashboard and just let someone know at Tesla that, hey, I'm having this problem, and they can diagnose it right then and there and without even having to touch the vehicle, which actually brings down labor costs for them as well. And sustainability in its purest form, it looks good. So it's very attractive to investors and employees.
Sustainability has many meanings: to maintain, support, endure, and withstand. It most commonly means maintaining the world we live in. The main idea is that we must act responsibly so that the resources on the planet will be able to support many generations to come. There are a limited amount of resources on Earth which are exploited every day to produce houses, cars, computers, and pretty much everything. Sustainability means to maintain these resources forever. Our actions have a deep impact on the environment, and we need to protect it for the future generations. If you want to figure out if something is sustainable, you should ask yourself the question, can I do this forever? Let's take a look at the product plastic to understand this better. Plastic was introduced in the early 1990s and is a mass-produced item today. We use plastic for everything from food containers to lamps, toys, bottles, bags, and much more. Plastic takes millions of years to decompose.